It's finally time to address this prequel. This film was meant to start a new era of G.I. Joe on film, and instead, it paid less than half its money back at the box office, being sent to streaming after just 3 weeks. It tried to be the series Batman Begins, ended up more like its X-Men Origins Wolverine. Let's open up Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins and find out why. The film opens on a prologue with young Snake Eyes and his father, provides a namesake after a hit is put out on him by Dice Roll. We're in trouble already, as by this logic, it would be like calling Spider-Man lab accident photographer. We cut to 20 years later with Snake Eyes now a dock worker slash pit fighter played by Henry Golding. Before I get too much further into this, I need to address him. He was fun and Crazy Rich Asians, but I feel he's miscast in this role. And that seems too far a leap to suggest an East Asian could play a ninja, but his performance just seems off, and not just indistinguishable accent either. By contrast, we have Tommy Rashikage, played by Andrew Koji. He seems a better fit, though his prowess most art is undercut by some truly lackluster editing and camera work. As shaky cambos are framing the action, Born Identity, this is not. Still, even before we find out he's Storm Shadow, he's actually got a more compelling arc than Snake Eyes. I definitely agree with comic book resources would be more interesting if the film went that Joker / Cruella route, casting Storm Shadow as an anti-hero or outright villain protagonist. I'm also sparing you the film's explanation of the name and giving it to you like this. It comes from the Japanese Arashi for Storm and Kage for Shadow. Instead, Snake Eyes is drafted into the Arashi Kage clan with their dojo in Tokyo, Japan. Where else? We're introduced to Akiko, played by Haruka Abe, Sam, played by Eri Ishida, and the Hard Master, played by Iko Uwais. Note to self: watch the movies finally, could use a better movie after this. Snake Eyes is subject to 3 challenges. Should he pass, he will enter their ranks. The first is to take a bowl of water without spilling it, which Snake Eyes passes by realizing he can simply ask for it. We're just 35 minutes into this, and even though this isn't a good film, it's been merely just dull so far. However, things are about to go off the rails. Case in point, we get to see Snake Eyes chased leader by his father's killer to a bathhouse, and we're told an artifact called the Jewel of the Sun. The live-action G.I. Joe films always had trouble reconciling the absurdity of source material with a more realistic direction. This movie probably has the worst balance of the two. I'm no expert, but it comes like a discount finish to a mostly grounded ninja movie, with something that shares any attempt to normalize G.I. Joe, once again, depending on my mood. Snake Eyes is given his sword, the Morning Light, and briefly spars with Akiko for his second test. It's not like Hasbro wasn't capable of making a good prequel / reboot, using Bumblebee as proof. It's just that this year, the year this came out, did see a movie with a relatively unknown lead, starring a hit martial arts fantasy epic. It was called Shang-Chi. Anyway, Snake Eyes, Tommy, and Akiko get into a fight with some Yakuza in Neon that back alley, and we see Cobra's sigil on a crate of weapons. I didn't mention earlier, Snake Eyes was apparently helping smuggle weapons at the docks in the scene where Tommy met him. The fight also continues to an airport bathroom with Scarlet, played by Samara Weaving. It took me half an hour to find the McDonald's at a remodeled SeaTac. Scarlet has also found out the Baroness, played by Ursula Corbero, once again. I'm actually kind of glad that she didn't even bother attempting her cartoon counterpart's Eastern European accent, since Golding's American accent isn't consistent enough. Baroness agrees to deliver the hitman, whose name is Augustine, in exchange for the jewel within 3 days. The second test is given by the Blind Master, played by Peter Mensah. I wish it was still RZA, but beggars can't be choosers. He's sent into the Force to confront his weakness, which is basically the key scene in Empire Strikes Back, and the movie I'll be watching. The attempted emotional scene with his dad's spirit doesn't work either, both due to how dull the line reads are and how I barely knew who they were before Augustine killed him. Also, Snake Eyes just now realizes the dice were loaded this whole time. Insert Road to El Dorado joke here. Eyes tries to feign ignorance about his plan, but Akiko isn't fooled. He opens up what happened to his dad, and the third and final test is one that could be fatal, involving massive anaconda snakes. I just mentioned this, but it bears mentioning again. I think some people wanted a standalone ninja movie, others wanted a full-on G.I. Joe prequel, and we ended up with a weird but dull mix of the two. Who also, this movie cost at least $88 million, yet the CGI came from a direct-to-video Anaconda sequel. Anyway, now Snake Eyes survives, he still isn't ready for the last test. He comes clean about his plan and has to leave. He does, but not before taking his sword and the jewel. So many great stories they could have pulled from about this character, and instead we got this. Also, I tried to feel about his blood pact with Tommy, given how this movie flopped partially because opening in the wake of the Delta variant surge. Snake Eyes delivers the jewel as promised in exchange for Augustine, though Snake Eyes won't do him in himself. There's actually a very simple fix for this part. He's already been outed as a spy for Cobra, just have the Baroness, or Snake Eyes boss the dogs, whose name is Kenta, by the way, kill him. He's clearly outlived his usefulness. Shoot him, use the jewel on him, anything would be better than nothing. Sadly, the motorcycle chase by the dojo isn't anything. It's not the mess that Paris chase was in Rise of Cobra, nor is it the perfection of the highway chase in John Wick Chapter 3. Not even the final showdown at the dojo works that well, as Robert Schwenke is clearly out of his depth for this kind of movie. Long story short, Snake Eyes passes the final test, Kenta is eaten by the anacondas, Tommy allies himself with Cobra, and the film closed out with essentially a 122-minute trailer for some movies we're never going to get. Of all the G.I. Joe movies to date, including the animated one from 1987, this is easily my least favorite. Ironic, as Snake Eyes is my favorite G.I. Joe character and many others, so this should have been a slam dunk for Hasbro and Paramount. For all their faults, I can use many words to describe the Michael Bay Transformers movies. Boring is not one of them. Even factoring in pandemic-induced rescheduling, I'm not a bit surprised this movie bombed. It grossed just $28 million domestically and $40 million worldwide on an $88 million budget, being shunted to Paramount Plus for just 3 weeks. When this is meant as your big summer tentpole and you end up making less money than the Paw Patrol movie, you've seriously screwed up something. The film also got a tepid 35% Rotten Tomatoes score, a 47 score Metacritic, and a mediocre 5.4 out of 10 IMDb rating. It's also the last film that Brian Goldner produced before he left Hasbro and passed away, which is another layer depressing. Aside from what I've already addressed, one major question I kept asking was this: who is this for? I can't really answer that, as it tries to be a standalone ninja movie and a G.I. Joe prequel, but didn't really succeed either one. Keep in mind, I saw both Black Widow and Space Jam: New Legacy when they opened, and they justify their existence in my view. This film, however, is either the dullest movie about a ninja warrior I've ever seen. I don't know what the future of the franchise holds, but it's clear both Hasbro and Paramount still see the brand as valuable. In addition to a new cartoon coming out this year, the third main film still never under the working title Ever Vigilant. Whatever it ends up being like, I can't imagine it being worse than this. My final rating is 0 out of 4. The prequel has rolled craps. I'm finally glad I was able to do this movie, even if it was a dull mess. Take care, everyone.